go! Welcome to the official Guns Up Nation podcast, the premier voice for the fearless fans of Raiderland.
He breaks. Oh, he's the one! Red Raider! Unbelievable!
The Scarlet and Black are back
of the Final Four Club, and they hail from Lubbock, Texas.
Let's meet today's hosts.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome into another installment of the Guns Up Nation podcast. I'm RC Maxfield alongside Tobias Bass down in H-Town. Tobias, bi-weekly weather report. We need that second update. What's it looking like today down there?
Well, first, I'm doing well. You didn't ask me that, but
people don't care if you're doing well, Tobias. They need to know the weather.
They don't. Well, it's been gloomy all day. There's like a hurricane right outside of Houston. We didn't really get the rain from it. We just kind of got the dark clouds, and it sprinkled earlier. But I thought we were gonna get some rain, but the weather people, they lie. So it hasn't really rained. It's just gloomy outside.
So you're saying that the industry that you're in, your fellow colleagues lie, or what?
Some of them, yes.
Some of them? Okay. I'm glad to hear you're doing well, though. Sorry I didn't ask that.
Yeah, you're horrible. Be better. I demand greatness on this podcast.
Well, I mean, I'm bringing a lot to the table, and there's not a lot coming from the H-Town side of this. Just kidding.
Yeah.
But on today's podcast, we're going to talk about Texas Tech football and preview the game against the number 24 Cyclones up in Ames, Iowa. And then we're going to answer a bunch of questions that we got off of Facebook, I think probably about 3 or 4. And then we'll talk about Texas Tech volleyball and soccer. And let's start right there, Tobias. So volleyball last night, they played in Fort Worth. They lost 3-2 in their first matchup against the Horned Frogs. A good collective effort. They were up 2-1, and then you got to credit the Horned Frogs a little bit. They came back and won 2 straight sets at home and took the deciding 5th set. But, you look at the stats, and I watched a little bit of it last night after I watched Big Brother. I know you don't watch that show, Tobias, but you should. I watched a little bit of it, and it looks like Texas Tech it's super deep. We've talked about that already, but it looks like, for me anyway, you can tell that the team is still trying to find their stride. And they didn't have a lot of practice time before the season actually started. There was limited time for everybody. So it's no excuse. But, when you have 2 transfers come in that are playing significant minutes, you lose the best player arguably in program history. It's going to be hard when you don't have as much practice time.
Right. No, for sure. It's definitely going to be hard. And like I say, people left from last year, and some of these girls, they haven't played. They haven't played at Tech yet. So this is their first time getting on-court action. Despite them not having limited practice time, and this is their first time playing, collegiate volleyball for a significant time. That's a hard ask. So give them time, and they're still playing their hard out. Like I said, they're kind of hot and cold type of thing. But when they're on, they can beat top teams.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't be surprised at all. If they come out and win tonight. They always seem to at least split. At least that's what they've done so far this season. So I wouldn't be surprised if Texas Tech does that in Fort Worth this season. You can check out that game on ESPN Plus if you're a subscriber on the Big 12 Now network. We'll move along. Talk about Texas Tech soccer. They have a huge game. Well, I guess you're going to be hearing this on Saturday, but they had a huge game on tonight, Friday. When you look at this team, again, we're kind of surprised you haven't seen Jade King, Allie Griffin. We're always going to say, Coach Stone knows better than us because, well, it's just the fact that he does. But,
right.
You look at what Texas Tech has to go through in terms of the gauntlet coming up for their schedule. It really starts tonight, Tobias. So you look at it. They play the number 9 West Virginia Lady Mountaineers tonight at home. All right. Then they got to go to Fort Worth to play the Horned Frogs on the 16th. On the 23rd, they play Iowa State at home. And then the next weekend after that, the weekend of Halloween, October 30th, the Friday, they play Oklahoma State, the number 4 team in the country. So 3 out of the next 4 weeks, you're playing top 12 teams in the country. This is a big, big deal right now for Texas Tech because, we thought that they would come out and, they would obviously be fighting, as there's a gnat right in front of me. Sorry for waving at that. But no, we thought Texas Tech soccer would come out and they would, not by any means have an easy road to, winning a Big 12 title, but that they would be up there. They just haven't shown that so far as they're 0-1-2.
Yeah, no, I mean they're fighting for their lives going forward. You know, I mean it's a tough ask. They're playing. You said 3 of the next 4 weeks. They're playing top 12 teams. They're gonna have to win those games. Like it's his point. Period. You know, they're gonna have to win those games, and then they kind of put themselves in a situation. You know, they are missing a couple of girls, and you know they were dealing with some COVID issues before. But if they want to, you know, have any possible chance to win the Big 12, they're gonna have to pretty much win every game going forward. So, you know, this is the coffin, I guess, sort of coffin they've dug themselves, but they're going to have to, come out of it and win games, starting with tonight. Tonight's going to be a tough ass, but I know Coach Stoner have the girls ready, and I expect them to play well tonight.
Yeah, and you can watch that game and listen to any game, Texas Tech volleyball or Texas Tech soccer, on our old stomping grounds. Got to give them a shout-out when you possibly can. KTXT 88.1, The Raider. Let me get a quick promo in, Tobias, real quick, and then we're going to jump into the preview as well as answering the questions from Twitter. But first, we got to tell you about Two Docs. Two Docs, great place to go hang out with your friends. You can go watch the game there tomorrow if you want. 11 a.m. kickoff, I believe, right? Against Iowa State. I'm not mistaken on that.
Yeah.
I believe it's 11
Yeah,
a.m.
I believe so.
11 a.m. Let's check this out. No, it's 2:30. I apologize to everybody.
2:30.
It is a 2:30 kickoff. My bad. It is a 2:30 kickoff tomorrow. It's going to be on ABC, though. Go watch it with your friends out there. Go watch it at Two Docs. Get a good beer. You can have some good food at the food trucks that are always out there. They're located at 502 Texas Avenue in downtown Lubbock. And if you can't make it out to 502 Texas Avenue in downtown, you can always go online to twodocsbrewing.com. And if you do spend $49 or more and you use the code GUNSUP, all capital, one word, on their website, you will get free shipping. Again, the code is GUNSUP. When you spend $49 or more, you'll get free shipping on twodocsbrewing.com. Go see our friends down at Two Docs, support local business, and tell them Guns Up Nation sent you. So, Tobias, let's jump right into this preview. Trevor Williams for Guns Up Nation has done a great job. Him and Andrew this week did a really good job on the game preview, so go check that out on gunsupnation.com. But, Tobias, this Iowa State team, it's been difficult for Texas Tech really to get anything going. I mean, I'm sure every Tech fan remembers that awful loss, 4 or 5 years ago with Pat Mahomes, where they just got shellacked up in Ames. And Texas Tech hasn't won in Ames since 2014. Tobias, what are the things you're looking for Texas Tech? What do they have to do to basically come out of a Big 12 matchup with an upset win on the road?
One, they're gonna have to stop Breece Hall. That guy, he's a
freak.
He's
a freak.
He's I don't know what it is about Iowa or Iowa State. They produce good pros, and he's going to be another one. He's going to be a very good pro. They're going to have to try to definitely shut him down because he can do everything. He catches the ball well. He runs between tackles well, and he's a playmaker when he's in space. But I think the biggest thing for me is they're going to have to be tough. This Iowa State team, they're very well coached, and they're super, super tough. They're going to fight and hang around. Everywhere they have a bunch of guys like Tech. Some of these guys are under-recruited. They went to JUCOs as well. They play with the chip on their shoulder, and they're going to definitely be prepared. So I think toughness is definitely going to be there, especially knowing that we don't play well up there, and we're also coming off of a loss. Well, we could have won the game, but another loss. We're going to have to just be tough. Like I said, last week is going to show me how mentally tough this team is. This is the same thing this week. We're going on the road, playing a good team. You're going to have to be tough.
Yeah, no. The stat that's crazy about Breece Hall, and I don't even know if you know this, Tobias, he gained anywhere between 15 to 20 pounds this offseason, and he lost like 4/400th of a second off of his 40-meter time. So he got bigger, but he got faster.
Okay.
So
that's very interesting.
Also, he's a freak. I mentioned that earlier when Tobias brought him up, but I mean, you look at kind of what Hall has done for them this year. He has 66 carries, 396 yards, and 6 touchdowns. To put that into perspective, Brock Purdy only has 2 touchdowns passing this year.
That's weird.
So, I mean, they're just really relying on Hall and just kind of, letting him do work on the ground game. So, really, the biggest key for me is kind of like you said, Tobias, stopping him. I'm really curious to see how they want to, really plug the gaps and contain on the outside. Because if you remember, they had a really big problem containing Vaughn on the outside, especially later in the game. So I wonder how they're really going to do that. Are they going to put Boyer, Randall, and Schooler in at the same time and then have Merriweather and Jeffers in the middle? What are they going to do there? And I really expect the D-line is going to have to, have a big game. Bradford's going to have to do what he did at Kansas State and then some. And same with Hutchings. Hutchings looked good in Manhattan. He flashed a little bit, but to be fair to him, he was getting double-teamed, and sometimes that's just difficult on a guy. But Bradford, I thought, really looked good, but really the linebackers are going to be the big story because the thing is when you can contain the run game and you put all the pressure on Brock Purdy, at least this year, Brock Purdy hasn't been the Brock Purdy we expected him to be.
Yeah.
And that's, maybe he comes alive against Texas Tech. It seems like sometimes those quarterbacks that are struggling a little bit, they come alive against the Raiders for whatever reason, even though we kind of know what the reason is. But it just seems like that happens. So I'm really curious to see how they use the linebacking formations. Obviously, Rico will be back since he got ejected in the first half. He served his suspension in the second half for targeting, by the way. But we won't talk about targeting on this show because, dear God, we only have like an hour to talk, and I would take up 3 hours just talking about that rule. But really, that's what I'm curious to see. And then the other thing, Tobias, this is another big one. It's the tackle for loss department for Iowa State. They're 21st in the country, tied for 21st in the country with 8 tackles for loss per game. That left side of the Texas Tech offensive line has got to be better. The tackles, they struggled a little bit, mostly Cardi over at left tackle. Berger has had his moments where he struggled, but really you're going to have to get better on that left side or else, it looks like Alan Bowman is going to play. If you look, kind of in the tea leaves about what Coach Wells is saying, in the sense of Bowman is their guy, and we'll answer that question later on who we think is going to start. But there's been no announcement. But whoever's back there has to be protected. So I'm really curious to see how, Yost does he put a running back there to add, that little chip block before, Sir Roderick or Xavier White goes out into the flat, because we all know he loves to run screens, Tobias.
Right.
So I'm curious to see how he does that. Maybe he uses that to his advantage in the sense of, okay, I'm just going to use it as an extra lineman. Or does he just bring Kuntz in there to block? Like, how does he do this? It's going to be very interesting. And I think it kind of depends on who the starting quarterback is too.
Yeah, for sure. Also, I want to, like you said, you talked about the line, though. Jaquan Bailey, he has, 3.5 sacks, 6 tackles for loss. So he's definitely going to be an impact player. And then also, I don't know why, I watched pretty much that whole OU game last week, but Mike Rose, he leads them in tackles. He's a thumper. He brings the pain.
He's Merriweather.
He's
their Merriweather.
Yeah, he's their Merriweather. And he laid out with Spencer Rattler a few times. So I know whoever starts at quarterback, they definitely have to be aware of him at all times because he's a very good zone linebacker too. He's very good in zone coverage as well. So they're definitely gonna have to, be aware of where he is at all times. And if you do try to run, just get down. Don't do it. Spencer Rattler, he's a young buck, and I know he was fighting, but don't do it. It's just not worth it. We need all our quarterbacks to be available to play.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think the other thing that's really a key to this game, and it's just been a really big proponent so far these past 2 weeks into why Texas Tech maybe hasn't pulled off the victory, is special teams. Special teams has got to be better. They just have to be better. You have 2 straight weeks of a blocked punt. You miss kicks up in Manhattan. Trey Wolf is 0 for 3 this year on field goal attempts. That's got to get better. Simple and plain. That's left points on the board. I'm not saying that you win the game if you have those points, but you got a lot better of a chance to do it. So really, that's a big point of emphasis for me. Just overall special teams, you cannot, have turnovers or block kicks or miss field goals or anything like that. You have to be better on the third part, the third party involved in terms of, the third group on the field. But it's going to be really interesting to see because Iowa State, they like bringing the pressure. You saw that against OU. OU didn't really have to deal with it as much, but Texas Tech has struggled a little bit on special teams. So, obviously everybody's coming to get, that block pump for the year or, 1 or 2 that they're going to get all year against Texas Tech because, Texas Tech is handing them out like candy right now.
Yeah, no, for sure. Special team has to be better. Special teams will definitely lose. You're going to get to win on all 3 facets of the game, especially, with the quarterback situation, you think there could be a change potentially, sometimes the offense is struggle. So you can't put them in good field position strictly off of just, bad special teams play. This offense, like you said, Brock Purdy hasn't played well, but he definitely has the weapons to do so. Their receiver, Xavier Hutchinson, he's pretty good. I think he's pretty good. Yeah, I like him a lot. I think he also will be a pro whenever he's eligible. He's eligible now, but whenever he decides to declare. But the point is, you don't want to put them in good. You don't want Brock Purdy to get a short fit. He hasn't played great yet, but he can easily turn into the old Brock Purdy, easily give him a short field.
Yeah, I mean, Brock Purdy is supposed to be a top 5 QB pick in this next draft. So I mean, he's obviously got talent. Yeah. It's just kind of when is it going to click? Let's move a little bit, Tobias, to the prediction aspect of this. You look at what the line is right now for Texas Tech and Iowa State. Currently, right now, the line continues to drop. It's dropped a full point over the past, I feel like, 2 days, if I'm not mistaken. But they have Iowa State as 12-point favorites. You think they cover Texas Tech?
Yeah, you?
Yeah, I do. I think they cover.
Yeah.
I think it's like a backdoor cover, like a late cover, though.
Yeah, I think so.
So the over-under is 64.5. You going over or under on that?
64.5. Yeah,
so if you want to do the math real quick, it looks like it's like a 40, trying to do the math real quick in my head. So that's 32 if you want to do that. Then the 6. So we're looking at like a 26-30, 36 game in that kind of range, maybe a little bit bigger. Like 27-37.
Yeah, I think I might go. I think it'll be a push. I think it'll be what it is. I think it'll be about that. I think Iowa State defense is. I think Iowa State's defense is legit. I think they have a pretty solid defense.
Who's scoring the half point if you think it's a push? I'm just giving you a hard time. 64.5. He said it was right on. I got it. I was just giving you a hard time. Yeah, I probably would go with the over.
Yeah. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me.
I think it'll probably be around 70, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I mean, it's Tech. They miss a tackle and whatever.
Or they try
to all the time, but yeah.
Peanut Tillman, the tight end for Kansas State, and instead they give up 66 yards, and it gives them a perfect time to get up in the game. I'm talking to you, Eric Monroe, on that play. So let's get a prediction then, Tobias. Texas Tech going up, playing the number 24 team in the country who just beat Oklahoma, who is no longer ranked, by the way, and also at the bottom of the Big 12 with Texas Tech and Kansas. Who would have thought that?
Yeah, no, it's crazy. It's crazy to think that, there's just definitely not going to be a Big 12 in the Big 12 team in the in the final last 4 teams. There won't be one in the playoffs. So
unless it's Oklahoma State.
Oh yeah, but they got their own. They're playing the freshmen right now too.
They can't lose though. Like they can't lose.
They can't lose. I mean, the Big Ten, they started in 2 weeks.
Sounds about right.
I think it's 2 weeks. I think it's week 8. So you can have Ohio State, Clemson, Alabama. I hope a Pac-12 team doesn't get. I really hope. I don't want to see any of them. Maybe it'll be another SEC school.
It's going to be another SEC school, probably like Georgia or Florida.
Georgia. Yeah.
Well, Florida.
Yeah, Georgia. Yeah.
I'll tell you what. Kyle Trask, that dude is the real deal, man. That dude is the real deal. He's a freak.
He's very good. Have you seen I know this is a tech podcast, but one last thing. Have you seen Alabama's schedule going forward?
I haven't.
It is brutal. Their schedule is very, very, very. I mean, it's Bama. They have the team to do it, but they have to play what? They play what? Mississippi. Ole Miss this week. That's Georgia ranked. Tennessee ranked. Mississippi State, who's ranked. They have a bye week at LSU, Kentucky, Auburn.
Then that's rough. That's rough. And they end on Arkansas, you said?
Yeah.
And Arkansas just beat Mississippi State, if you remember.
Yeah, I'm saying that. I mean, it's Bama, but if they lost a game or 2, I don't know if they'll lose 2, but that's tough.
Yeah, no, that's a tough schedule by all means. I'm sure that's enough Bama stuff though for this week, right?
Yeah,
but no, that's the thing though. Like, you look at some of these teams, like, and this is just pertaining to college football. I don't know how many of these teams would be ranked where they are if everybody was playing. But you look at the SEC this year, and again, we don't have the Big Ten and we don't have the Pac-12 playing, at least in the normal ranks right now.
Yeah,
you have Florida, Alabama, Georgia, LSU, Tennessee, Mississippi State was ranked. You have all these teams that are just ridiculous this year. Like Florida, I mean, I think right now, if I'm not mistaken, 3 of the top 4 teams in the country from the SEC. It's Bama, Florida, and Georgia, right? And then Clemson sprinkled in it too.
Yeah.
Right? Like, they're loaded. Like, if you ask me right now, Florida is just I thought they'd be good, don't get me wrong, but I didn't expect Trask to take that big of a leap. If I'm being honest, like, he took a leap. He is a Heisman contender.
He's gonna be on some big time draft boards after this year.
Yes, yeah, and that's the thing. Like, you're looking at it already. Like, we already know the big 3 that in terms of the quarterback position. We obviously know Trevor, we know Fields, and we know Lance has got a ton of potential. But there's guys like Trask. I mean, and let's just say Purdy just explodes, right? Like, it's possible.
Yeah.
Like, we could see 5 quarterbacks drafted in the first round next year.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, that's what they were saying. That would be the 5. Yeah, that's what they were saying. They said they could see him. He'll be a mid first round pick, and a playoff team would draft him with a no quarterback.
Yeah,
and he'll just sit.
Like, I mean, he would be perfect, and I mean perfect with the Saints.
Yeah, I'm about to say he looks like a Saint.
He'd be so much fun to watch with Michael Thomas, Emmanuel Sanders, Alvin Kamara, like all those guys. That'd be a perfect spot for a guy like that. I also really want to see Trey Lance down there. That'd be super fun with Sean Payton and his offensive
Don't let the Patriots get him.
Well, we don't talk about that team on this podcast, Tobias. But we'll move on and we'll talk about some of these questions. We'll answer your questions again. You can send all of your questions for the podcast to @GunsUpVoice on Twitter. We'll answer them the best we can. The first question that we have is from Greg Biggs. It's Tech Golf 44. He said, "Here's my question. When is Tech football going to win 7 games a year or more for 10 straight years?" Just curious.
Can you see a picture of him? Do you know how old he looks?
He's an older gentleman.
Yeah, man. We'll probably be around his age. We'll probably be around his age by the time that happens, my friend. It's sad and it's unfortunate, but I feel like we're not cursed, but I just feel like we have cursed-ish vibes. Like, I just feel like we just cannot get over the hump.
The thing is with me is, like, and we're Tech fans, we're Tech alumni. Like, we try and keep it as unbiased as possible, but like, I don't think people realize what Texas Tech's winning percentage is historically. Like, on average, they only win 6.07 games a year. Like, if you go by their 89-year history, 89 years of Texas Tech football.
So we're about the same. Yeah.
Like, it's not like, I think they have 545 wins in 89 years. You average 6.07 or something like that. Like, I get, like, people are with the Leach era still, and everybody has that, and you know what? That's good for the fan base to want to be there, right? But at the same time, you have to have realistic expectations. And to be fair to Greg, and to be fair to Greg, 7 wins is, I think, very realistic. But every year, I don't know, like, because when you look at it, I think Texas Tech is probably one of those teams and programs that, is going to sit in the range of 6 to 8 wins every year. That's just what's going to happen. A bounce here, you win 8. A bounce there, you win 6. Like, that's it. Like, and it's probably going to be it's probably going to be 6 more than 8, right? Like, that's just what it is. Like, I mean, it's nothing bad, but there's so many people out there, and I get a lot of hate for it just because I like Wells. I think he's a good coach. It just takes time. Like, I think people, at least in Tech fandom, and this might sound harsh, but I think they're spoiled by what happened with Texas Tech baseball and basketball. Like, the turnaround for those were instantaneous almost, and people try and compare Wells' situation to Beard. I think people forget Beard inherited an NCAA tournament team. Like, they went to the tournament the year before Beard was there. Like, Tubby Smith took him to the round of 32 or round of 64.
Yeah. Then, like I said, you get arguably one of the best players ever played. He happens to be from Lubbock. That helps a lot. When then not only did he stayed for 2 years, Zaire popped. You got some good transfers coming in here. Keenan stayed. guys could have left and they decided to stay. You know, Keenan stayed, Zach, Josh Gray, all those guys. Norrin stayed. You know, he got some grad transfers in here. He goes to the Elite Eight the next year, then you get a better recruiting class. Now, you know, things are kind of taking off. You know, baseball, he comes in there and changes the program around. But it's hard, but it's easy to do with basketball because, you know, you get 2-3 good recruits or a good transfer.
It's 15 guys.
Yeah, you only play like 8 of them anyway. So,
Exactly.
You know, you get 3 decent players, just 3. You just need 3 decent players, a point guard, a small forward, and a decent big. You're okay.
You got a chance.
Yeah.
And the way we're saying that makes it sound like we're knocking Coach Beard and all that stuff. It's not like that.
Yeah,
But,
he's a great coach.
yeah, like I think really what people need to understand is in football, you can't just have, you know, these guys that come in like the Eric Monroes and, you know, the Colin Schoolers and, you know, Boyer Randalls. And, yeah, you have a bunch of Power 5 guys in terms of transfers coming in here. But in football, you can't just have 3 good players. You need legitimately 40 to 50 guys that are capable of at least playing, you know, limited minutes and not, if not like starter type minutes, you know, because you have to have depth at every position. And if you don't, you're going to get killed. And that's just the case. I think really on the Texas Tech football front, it's just going to take time. And to answer the question, when are they going to win 7 or more games in 10 straight years? I don't know if they ever, you know, will do that because there's always bad years, even for good programs, you know. I mean, shoot, who could have predicted what's happening to Florida State right now?
Yeah, no, they're.
Like if you would have predicted that 4 years ago, we would have laughed in your face, right?
I mean, give me what 2 years ago, 3 years ago, Derwin James had just left that program. They were still a top 15, top 17 team in the country. Now look, and then the thing with Beard, like you said, you brought up a good point about how he inherited an NCAA tournament team. You know, sometimes, you know, I'm not like I said, this is not a knock on Beard, but he came into a very different situation. Then also, I feel like there also wasn't as much pressure. You know, Wells, he comes right after Texas Tech sweetheart.
Sure.
We love Cliff Kingsbury. They love him. You know, Tubby. You know, that was a pit stop. You know, he wasn't going to be there long, and he wasn't there long at all. So, you know, Beard came into a situation where I feel like there's almost was no pressure. He went to UNLV for an hour and, you know, came over. You know, there really was no pressure. You know, Wells comes in here after Cliff Kingsbury. I think they wanted him to be great immediately. You know, it's just different. It's a different ball game. I mean, you remember those games when Beard first got there? People weren't going to those games when he first got there. Those Rice games, those games were not sold out at all. The whole top upper row no one was up there.
Yeah, no, I mean, the cupboard wasn't fully. You know, again, we're not knocking Coach Beard. Like I think Coach Beard even knows he came into a good situation and he worked his ass off to make it better. Good for him, right? Like, but you have to. It took time for Coach Beard to do that. You have to give that time for Coach Wells just to even get the players in there that he needs, and then you can start judging him. Like, you can't start judging Matt Wells, in my opinion, in terms of like, is he a good or bad coach, until he gets his quarterback in there that he recruited in Morton. And, you know, Morton is probably a sophomore. You can probably start judging Matt Wells, you know, in the middle year 3.5. Like, that's probably where you can judge him, because at that point, okay, you have 3 recruiting classes. Your guys potentially are there that are juniors or seniors that you actually brought in or were transfers to your program. At that point, if you're still losing, by all means, there needs to be a change. But you have to give him time to get his guys in here and restock this cupboard that was absolutely bare, outside of maybe, you know, 2 or 3 positions.
Right.
I mean,
then they come in with Beard. I mean, he comes back. Keenan's a junior.
Mm-hmm.
Josh Gray's a junior. Norris is a junior. Zach is a junior. I'm like, 4 of your starting 5 are all juniors.
Yep.
Then they come back again. You know, they didn't transfer. They stayed. You get you got a very underrated recruit who happens to live in Lubbock and Jericho, who was a lottery pick. You get Zaire, basically a lottery pick. He went right outside the lottery. You get they both come on the same team. Like, you got hit. There was, like I said, this isn't a lot. He's a great coach, but he, like you said, some people get drafted by the Jets and some people get drafted by other teams. So, you know, it's a very, very. It's a very, very big difference. You know, you can easily be a Jet and be like, you know, I have no offensive line, no weapons, not a good coach, terrible fan base, terrible facilities. Like, but then when you get drafted by the Steelers, everything. We have a great coach, great weapons, great everything. It's a little bit different.
Yeah. No, absolutely. So to answer your question, Greg, I don't know. It's hard for a team to win 7 or 10 years in a row, 7+ games. It doesn't matter what program it is. It's difficult to do. I mean, I would probably, if we want to look at the optimist, side of this, hopefully it starts next year. But I think we have to be realistic and think that Texas Tech, probably it may never happen. And if it does,
our culture just has to change.
Yeah, and if it does, it's going to be one of those things where, it might be 7 1 year, or maybe they win, 6 2 years out of those 10, but every other year is 7 or 8. I think that's a win in anybody's book. Everybody would take that in a heartbeat, I feel like. All right, we'll move on. Kobe, our own graphic designer for the site, had a question. With how the football schedule was, only one non-conference game, what can we expect from basketball, and when could a possible schedule be announced? Tobias, we've talked about this a little bit on previous podcasts. We probably think that the schedule is going to be announced, closer to November 1st?
Yeah, it'll be. I mean, right now they're still trying to figure out how is this even going to work. I know that the Maui, Tech's not in the Maui, but they're going to be playing. The Maui's in Asheville, so they're not going to be around beautiful water and trees. They're going to be in Asheville, but they're still trying to figure out exactly where they're going to play and how, because you also have to get those MTE games, because they're trying to see if they can play teams like geographically like where they are. So Texas, we're obviously Tech, we're in Texas, so can we play other than Big 12 schools? Can we play in SMU? Can we play U of H? How does that work with
UTEP,
the school is
whatever it is?
Yeah, exactly. It's Tech, we might be out of school after Thanksgiving, but it's UTEP. Are they still going to be in school? And UTEP, unfortunately, they don't have as much money as Tech. If you can't get tested before before the game, I'm not playing you. That's just period. So some of these smaller schools in your area, if they don't have the funds, to pay for testing, I'm not playing you. Why? I'm not going to play you, because they're not going to risk my kids or my players or my staff getting sick. So if they can't afford the test, because how it is, or if you can't travel due to whatever, you just can't play you. So I'm trying to figure all that out.
Yeah, and I mean, there's been rumors. I know Jeff Goodman with the Stadium, I believe, is who he's with now.
Yeah.
He mentioned something along the lines of Texas Tech being in a smaller bubble with Gonzaga and Cincinnati, and other teams might join. So I don't know where exactly that would be located by any stretch of the imagination, but that has been talked about, and those kind of deals have been talked about. So it's going to be interesting to see exactly when and where Texas Tech plays, because it looks like it's going to be bubbles. It looks like there's going to be bubble situations, at least for tournaments, those little tournaments. And I mean, I think that's probably for the best, just because it allows you to make sure you can control the environment, especially if the kids are out of school. You won't have to worry about as much. But I would probably say that Texas Tech fans can probably, look at a schedule coming out. I would probably say first week of November, maybe Monday or Tuesday of the second week of November, because we're starting to get to that time now where it's like, okay, it's almost basketball season. On the 14th, I believe, or the 15th, Texas Tech can start practice. So you got to look at it that way. And usually what that means is you can start practice about 4 weeks before the first tip-off of your projected game. So we're looking at November 15th, November 16th, in that range in terms of when Texas Tech basketball is projected to tip off. So it's going to be really interesting. I probably would suspect, there's going to be a bubble situation. And what I'll say is this too, is you'll only be in one bubble. That'll be your only non-conference games. I think everything else will just be strictly conference games this year. So, say Texas Tech is in a bubble with 4 other teams. Okay, they get to play 4 non-conference games, right? Maybe Baylor is in a bubble with 6 teams. They get 6 non-conference games. Like, it sucks, but that's just how it's going to be. And the committee is just going to have to rank people on the competition you play and also just circumstances. This is going to be the weirdest year ever in college basketball history when it comes to seeding.
Because one rumor I was hearing, I don't know, but they were trying to do it like a pod system, kind of how they do it with soccer. They're going to put them in like groups, and everyone's going to play everyone in the group. So like you said, let's say it's 6 teams, you'll get 6 games. Once those games are over, you'll go you'll go somewhere else. But I know they're probably talking about putting people like I heard Houston was a location. Was it North Dakota, Vegas? All over Florida, Asheville, North Carolina, Indiana, places like that. So I know that places like that are probably trying to find somewhere to put the kids. But I mean, they might put them in a process, also trying to make it like Kentucky. In Kentucky you have Louisville, Murray State's over there. Cincinnati, you have schools that are exactly. You have schools that are close by, so you can kind of make it work.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think the pod system will probably be what it is, but it's just going to be one of those things where those are the only non-conference games you play, and then you go straight into, conference play. I think that's probably what's going to happen. More than likely. Everybody will get a set number. I know earlier I said maybe they only get 4 and the other teams get 6. Yeah. I mean, that's still a possible outcome, but I think more than likely it'll be the sense of, okay, everybody plays 6 and then we just go on from there kind of deal.
Well, I mean, what I want to see, because, there's potential like rivalry games that might get canceled. Because did you see what Louisville and Kentucky are kind of going through? Did you hear about that?
I did.
So basically, I'm gonna just sum it up real quick. John, because they have that rivalry every year. Last year, Louisville played Kentucky in Rupp. Mm-hmm. Louisville obviously they're trying to play Kentucky at home.
Yeah.
Coach from Louisville, Cronin, he wants to play the game in a neutral site. Coach Calipari was like, "No, we want to play you in at it's not the KFC. It's
KFC?
Yeah. He wants to play them there and keep it like alternating years. Cronin doesn't want to do it. He wants to play in a neutral site and then start it over, going back and forth next year. So they're having like a little tussle with that. But I don't know if it's Coach Calipari, but someone from Kentucky's athletic department, they called ESPN to see if Louisville could move one of their games to a different date, basically trying to force them to play the game. They kind of were doing it behind their back. But my point is just, this is like you said, this is just a weird time, and certain games probably just aren't this is probably not going to be played. It's just going to be hard. Doing, like I said, scheduling is a big part of it, because you have games like TV deals that are, because CBS owns that game. They need that game.
Absolutely.
So
they paid for it.
I'm sure the game will be played, but it's stuff like that you have to also keep in mind.
Absolutely. Hopefully that answered Kobe's question. Let's move on, though.
Yeah.
We got a question here from Eraser41. You know who that boy is, Emery. He works over at either the Matador. Who do you think will receive more minutes this year, Micah Peavy or Tobias's guy, Agbo?
I'm probably going to say Peavy for right now. I think that Agbo, I think he will touch the floor. I think he's probably the most underrated, guy that we got this year. And there's been this, big popular crowd. I think Agbo's really, really legit. But I think Peavy will probably get more minutes. It wouldn't surprise me if he even started somewhere down the stretch.
Yeah, I'd probably say Peavy probably gets in the neighborhood of like 21 to 24 minutes. Yeah. And then Agbo probably gets in the range of like 11 to 14.
Yeah, I want to say about.
I'd probably say somewhere like that. Like maybe some games it'll be higher and some games it'll be lower. It just kind of depends. Right. But I probably think that's probably where he averages in between there. But I agree. I think Agbo, honestly, like if you're talking about the guys on this team, I think that there's, in terms of who has pro potential, in my head, I count there's 4 guys that have pro potential in my head. I don't know if you agree with that. Obviously, Namari, I think Peavy does, Shannon, and then I think Mac as well, if everything goes right. I think Agbo's there too. I really do. I don't think it's going to happen quickly for him. This is not going to be a Zaire Smith situation. But I definitely think he'll play like 3 years at Tech, and I think by his 3rd year, he's competing to be on like an all Big 12 second team or something like that. And then he gets drafted in the early second round.
Yeah. I think Joel has the potential as well. I think he could be a pro too if he wanted to be.
Yeah, it's fair.
Yeah, I think he could be. But as far as Agbo is, I mean, I think that I want to see, because the next year, not projecting anything, but I think Shannon's going to have an unbelievable year. Could even be a Big 12 Player of the Year.
Oh, you're going to love my fiery hot take when we do that for basketball season. I can guarantee that.
Assuming he plays how I'm expecting, I think Agbo could be the Shannon I think he could be the Shannon where he comes as a sophomore and he's the one that blows up. Because I assume we're going to have a few guys from this year's team go on to better things. I think that Ogbo next year as a sophomore could be the next Shannon per se.
See, I think it's first of all, let's say it's the Culver, right? It's got to be the Culver, right?
Yeah,
we got to call it the Culver rule.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But no, I get what you're saying. Like I get what you're saying. Like the thing is, like
Culver.
I think if we have to project like that, I think Shannon does have a monster year, and then I think Peavy has the Culver type jump his second year, then he bounces, and then I think Ogbo has the jump from his sophomore to junior year. That's not saying I don't think Ogbo is going to be obsolete by any stretch of the imagination those first 2 years.
Yeah.
I think, probably this first year he probably averages like 6 to 8 points. I think maybe. I feel like 8 might be a little high. But I think that's probably what in the neighborhood he's in, just because of minutes and everything like that. I think there's going to be a game this year where Texas Tech wins because of Ogbo. Like, there's going to be a game this year that happens. Like, I don't know when it's going to be, but it'll happen. So I really like the guy's talent. And, I mean, obviously you got to interview him and everything, and there's limited film on the guy, but you really like what you see. Like, he's got an NBA body already. It's just his game is super raw right now.
Yeah. He's really versatile. I mean, he's built like a truck. Like, he's super, super strong. I mean, he deadlifted 400 pounds. He's just super, super strong to be 18 years old. But he has a lot of like raw potential. Different things he has to work on. But I think that I trust Beard and their staff to develop him properly. And I think that, like you said, like 2 years from now, I think he's gonna be a force in the Big 12. Not only the Big 12, but just in the country.
But you're gonna go with Peavy in the minutes question.
Yeah, I think Peavy will play if you remember. Like I said, he might even start.
Yeah, I was about to say I don't. Is it a for sure thing that Joel starts? No, right?
No,
I think
because the thing. Go ahead.
No, I think like if you had to ask me like right now, let's assume McClung gets the waiver. It probably goes what? Namari, McClung, Shannon, Peavy, and Santos Silva, right? Yeah,
because the thing is now, I mean, the Big 12, there aren't any bigs, but other than like one or two, you don't have to go big anymore. I can play 4 wing players or 4 guards or tweeners, and I can get away with it because there is no Azubuike anymore. Yeah, I can get away with it.
There's only like 3 good bigs. What McCormick, Big O, and Culver.
And even him. Because I mean, even with McCormick, he's a low, but offensively he doesn't scare me.
Well, he hadn't even had the opportunity. I mean, he hasn't flashed at all. What is he? Is he a sophomore this year or a junior? I feel like he's a junior.
Yeah, I feel like he's a junior. They still have other guy from Angola. He's still there too. So Silvio.
Yeah. He's like 30 though, right?
Yeah. He's don't. I'm not even gonna talk about that on here. But he's also there. And they have Tristan. He's from is he Switzerland? He's gonna be really good.
I know
too.
you're talking about.
But there's 2 dominant bigs in this kind. McCormick's not dominant yet. And offensively, he's not going to be dominant. He's just a big rebounder.
Yeah, I mean, I just wonder, how Beard really does the and obviously we'll get more clarity on it, because if you ask me, what I would love to see is Peavy start. And we're getting a little too deep into basketball here, but hey, people are asking about it. They're starting to get hyped. Like, for me, like, that would be my starting 5. And then on the second rotation, that allows me to have Kyler Edwards. You also have Ogbo. You have Tyreek Smith, and then you have Joel. And then that, other guard spot, you could put Benson or, Nadaldi or really whoever you want there. Yeah. Doesn't really matter to me.
We're forgetting about a guy from San Antonio.
McCullers.
McCullers, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like, I'm trying to think in my head, like, we were talking about Ogbo in the sense of, like, how many minutes is he going to get? Like, I think he's going to play this year, but it would not shock me at all if, like, if he hasn't flashed at all, he's out of the rotation, this year. And they just kind of treat it like a redshirt year because they have so many damn guys. Like, so many damn guys. There's 12 guys that could play on this, team that should get, like, 15 minutes at least.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be hard for Coach Beard just to, figure out rotations and stuff like that. Obviously, they'll be able to do it, but it's going to take some time for that to happen. And obviously, they can still win games because the amount of talent they have. But it's going to be super difficult to just figure out and, make sure those egos are okay.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, that's going to be the biggest thing. You have a bunch of talented guys like that, you don't want to be a situation where, I don't think Coach Beard's a promiser where I promise he's going to make you work. He's going to make you earn it. But, egos is a big thing. But I think that he probably told those guys day one, leave your ego at the door because this isn't that type of program. We're not going to just come in here. You're going to just demand playing time because you were high 4 or 5-star recruit. You're going to have to earn everything. Yeah, we had that kid from Chicago a few years ago. He was like basically a 4-star recruit. He didn't touch the floor. And he transferred the next year. I don't even know where he's at now, but this was like his first year to do. I can't remember. He was a Chicago kid. He was like a 4-star guard. He didn't play.
I know who you're talking about. I can't even remember.
Yeah, he did not play.
You know what name?
Hell,
the guy that it just reminds me of is like Isaiah Masterson or Masterson. You remember him, the center?
Yeah.
Like I don't even. Is he still in South Florida? Where is he playing now?
Someday I'm gonna go look up and find some of these guys like that guy from Quinnipiac. We kind of left him. We left him when we came back from that trip. Beard's first year. He got to go. Ego kind of big.
Oh my goodness, what is his name? Oh my gosh, I can picture his face. It starts with an M, right?
I can't remember his name. I know he lists. I cannot remember his name. But yeah, those guys.
Is it Manderson? That's Isaiah Manderson. I'm an idiot.
Mm.
It starts with an M though. I think I could picture him like he was herky jerky. He almost kind of played like a Robert Turner, almost.
Yeah. Cause he played decent minutes. He really couldn't shoot. He kind of pissed me off and even shoot shots, but he just couldn't shoot.
But he had that one good game down there, right? You remember that?
Yeah. No, exactly. Yeah, he had a good game. I was like, oh, okay, he's not, whatever, but he just didn't play well.
Gosh, what is his name?
Geo McLean.
No, that's not it.
That's him. Geo.
No, that's not it.
What is him? I'm looking at it right now.
No,
I'm looking at. He went to Quinnipiac. He went to Quinnipiac. Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. This is 2016, 2017. Geo McLean. I think they called him something else. Then the other one you're talking about is Millinghouse. That's what you're talking about.
That's who I'm talking about. I'm thinking of Millinghouse, who had a good game.
Yeah.
No, I don't even remember who you're talking about. I'm being honest.
Geo McLean. He was a transfer dark guy. He came from the Bronx, from New York.
I'm looking at it right now.
He played decent. Yeah.
No, I'm thinking of Millinghouse.
Yeah, Millinghouse. He played defense.
Yeah.
And ironically, they're both from Brooklyn.
Interesting. I'm looking it up right now. He's not even listed on the 2016 roster.
I'm looking at Sports Reference, but yeah. Millinghouse, I know when he left, he had a child, and I believe he went to play overseas.
Well, no, Millinghouse is the guy that left in the Bahamas or whatnot.
We left McLean. We left McLean over there, bro.
I swear it's the other way around.
The only reason why I know that is because his cousin is a good friend of mine. She goes to Tech. That's the only reason why I know that, because he was pissed. Her mom was pissed.
Fair enough.
Yeah, that's the only reason why I know.
Oh man, now I'm looking at Thomas Brandsma and good old Aaron Ross. Throwing me back.
Yeah.
Throwing me back here, man. My goodness. I forgot about these guys. I forgot about all these guys, man. It's wild. Absolutely wild. Hey, unbelievable. All right. So one more question, Tobias. We'll end with a fun one. Obviously, Brandon is having a lot of pain here when he asked this. And he says, why do we suck so bad at football? Will my pain ever end?
I would hope the pain will end at some point. When I can't answer that question, I guess for me, I think that the culture just has to change at Tech. One, expectations are high. I really don't know why. I mean, even when we had Pat here, I mean, we weren't great. Even when Pat was here, I mean, Pat turned into Pat, but still, like, we weren't great when he was here. We haven't been really good in a very, very long time. We were in like elementary school the last time we were really good.
I think I was in middle school, yeah.
Yeah, like it's been a very long time. So, I think expectations have to be – because that's the thing. When you have high expectations, your patience is very low.
Yeah.
We need to be patient. We're not – You go back the last 6-7 years, we haven't won a Big 12 title. We haven't been close. So I don't know where we need to be at the top with Oklahoma. No, that hasn't happened. I don't know why we feel that way, but that needs to be turned down a lot. This is not basketball or baseball.
Yeah, I really think it's just because everything on campus other than football and like women's basketball to a degree, like has been killing it. Like, they have been great. Like cross country, good. Track and field, national championship. Baseball, basketball, softball, tennis. Like literally volleyball is getting better now.
Right.
Like soccer, competing for Big 12 championships. Like everything on campus. Shoot, even meat judging, if you want to throw that in there. I know it's not the athletic department, but still, like everything is good on campus except for football and women's basketball. So, like, I get the patience aspect of it. It's like, well, everything else is good. Why can't football be good quickly? Like, football is a whole different breed, like, compared to any other sport in college athletics. Because you talked about it earlier, Tobias. You can get 3 good players in basketball. You're good to go.
Yeah, no, for sure. Sometimes you just need 2. Sometimes
if they're good enough.
Yeah, Marquette did it last year. They went to the tournament. They were going to go to. They had one really good player on the team, the scorer. That was it. They had one really good player. Everyone else was average. And when they were going to go to the tournament, they won a lot of big games in the Big East.
Yeah, so I mean, like, football is just a whole different breed. I would preach patience. I get frustration, but don't let the frustration boil over to something that shouldn't be there in the first place in terms of high expectations. You should not be frustrated because you have high expectations. You have to have realistic expectations about this program. And realistic expectations right now is it's a building program. It's going in the right direction. I'm not happy that they are 1-7 or 1-6 in one possession game under Wells. I don't think anybody is, but you have to take it as a positive that they're that close in those games because under Cliff Kingsbury, they didn't have a lot of those opportunities. So it's going to take a little bit of time. Just be patient. But yes, I think your pain will end. And if it doesn't, basketball starts in a month.
I'll even tell you this. One thing they really need to start doing, have you seen all the top players in Lubbock that are ranked coming out of the state this year?
In football?
It's a lot. It's like 5.
Really?
Yeah. In football, they're in Lubbock. They go to Lubbock high schools. It starts with that. I don't know where these kids are coming from, but these kids are going to like very big schools. They can't leave Lubbock.
I did not know that.
I
just didn't realize it.
They have a D tackle. They have a quarterback. The wide receiver last year, he was almost a 5-star recruit. TCU got him, and he wanted to come to Tech. They wouldn't offer him. He wanted to go to Tech. They wouldn't offer him. He was a 4-star recruit.
I don't know what's going on.
He was like top 5 in the state or top 10 in the state in receiving yards and touchdowns, and they wouldn't offer him. And he wanted to come to Tech. There are 3 or 4 highly ranked players in the state. They're in Lubbock right now. They're juniors and seniors. They cannot leave. I'm going to assume Tech has offered them. I don't know what they need to do. They need to make sure they don't leave. Because you have talent in your backyard. You have talent in your backyard. They can't leave.
Absolutely. No, I didn't.
Yes.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it makes sense. Football in the city right now it's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Hell, Cooper, one of the schools last year, they were projected to go to state last year. It's one of the schools that I don't think they did. Yeah, they were supposed to go to state. They had a bunch of, mid-level D1 guys on their team. I said they can't let those guys. They can't let them leave Lubbock. They have to bring them in. They can't.
But I mean, at the same time, it may not even be like letting them leave Lubbock. It's the sense of like, I want to get the hell out of Lubbock. And to be fair, like I get it. Like, a lot of people in college, they want to go experience new things. Like, but at the same time, I get what you're saying. You got to lay that foundation within your own city that's obviously producing talent. You have to get a couple of those guys in here at least.
Yeah, a couple of them.
So that's interesting.
And especially, with the times going on right now, a lot of kids are probably going to want to stay close to home, if not at home. You know what I mean? A lot of kids are doing that. After the football game yesterday, one of the kids, he had offers from all over the country. He wanted to go to U of H because of this. So he picked U of H. So now, different kid, different scenario. But if you have just like a 4-star D tackle down the street, like, come on.
Yeah,
like,
you got to do something about that. Absolutely.
And the quarterback, he's really, really, really good.
To be fair, I mean, like I get why they're probably not going after the quarterback because they do have Morton.
Yeah.
And you don't really like to bring in 2 quarterbacks that are highly profiled like that in the same class. That's not a good look. But at the same time, the D tackle, like why aren't you going after them if they're not already? Or that kind of stuff. You got to keep those guys at home at the bare minimum, at least a couple of them, just because that actually like helps you within the town too. That builds a certain camaraderie that's already there with Texas Tech, but even to
we saw those empty seats. We saw those empty seats last year. Where's the student section? I mean, we didn't, they weren't coming for other obvious reasons, but still that helps.
Yeah, it is what it is. But that's all those questions. And let's shout out the people one more time that asked. Oh, we got one quick question. This is from Ron Shipley, Tobias, at 89_red_Raider. Just real quick, one word, say their last name. Who starts at quarterback tomorrow for the Red Raiders?
It's going to be but Bowman's going to start. Bowman's going to start.
I think too. I think Bowman will start. I will say that if it is a close game at halftime and Bowman has not looked good in the first half, Henry Columbia will come in and play. But again, a huge shout out to Greg Biggs at Tech Golf 44. Kobe Mott Designs. Go check him out. Doing great stuff for us. Ron Shipley at 89_red_Raider, excuse me. And then Brandon, I hope it gets better, buddy. It will. It will. I promise. Your pain will end. I promise you, man. His is B Fraser _2. And then we got Eraser at Eraser41. That's Emery over there. And you can check out his stuff as well on Twitter. He's a good guy. But yeah, so huge shout out to you guys for asking the questions. We had a couple more we just couldn't get to today, but for Tobias Bass, you can follow Tobias at Tobias_Bass on Twitter. I'm RC Maxfield. You can follow me at RCMB323 on Twitter. Be sure to go and follow Guns Up Nation on all platforms, Facebook, Instagram, as well as Twitter. We got a lot of great content over on the website too, gunsupnation.com. Again, go check out gunsupnation.com. Those guys are really producing a lot of great content, and it's about to be time to start getting some basketball content out there, Tobias. Your sweet spot, to say the least. But again,
I'm excited.
That's Tobias Bass. I'm RC Maxwell. We'll catch y'all next time. Be kind to others and wear a mask, everybody.
Thanks for listening to the Guns Up Nation podcast. The opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the podcast hosts and do not reflect the opinions of Texas Tech University or its affiliates. Visit our website at gunsupnation.com for more Texas Tech news. Thanks again, and Guns Up.